commitment. It's a word that carries weight, a promise whispered in the stillness of the heart, a decision that shapes destinies. In the tapestry of life, our commitments form the threads that bind us. And when it comes to faith, commitment takes on a profound significance, becoming the very cornerstone upon which we build our lives. Deuteronomy 6 speaks volumes about the importance of commitment to God. It's a chapter brimming with urgency and tenderness, echoing God's deep desire for an unwavering bond with his people. Imagine the Israelites poised on the brink of the Promised Land. For 40 long years they had wandered the wilderness. Now, as they prepared to inherit the land, God, through Moses, gave them a set of instructions, a blueprint for a life of blessing and abundance. These weren't just arbitrary rules, but loving guidelines. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. These words, etched in the annals of history, are as relevant today as they were millennia ago. They remind us that true commitment to God is not a casual affair, but a passionate pursuit, an unwavering devotion that permeates every aspect of our being. The commandments and decrees God gave to the Israelites weren't meant to stifle their joy or limit their freedom. On the contrary, they were a pathway to an abundant life, a life lived in harmony with the Creator and in the flow of His blessings. These directives covered various areas of life, from worship and family to social justice and personal conduct. They were a blueprint for a society founded on righteousness and love. A society where God's presence would be central and His glory evident in every aspect. God, in His infinite wisdom, knew that true fulfillment and lasting happiness could only be found within the boundaries of His loving design. He yearned for His children to experience the fullness of life that comes from walking in obedience to His word. Like a loving parent setting guidelines for a child's well-being, God's commandments were a testament to His deep love and concern for His people. The beauty of God's design is that obedience to His commands isn't a burden, but an invitation to a life overflowing with blessings. Deuteronomy 6 verse 3 promises, "Hear, O Israel, and be careful to obey, so that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you." Obedience, in essence, becomes the key that unlocks the storehouse of God's blessings. When we align our lives with His will, we position ourselves to receive His favor, His protection, and His abundant provision. When we trust in His wisdom and follow His guidance, our lives become a testament to His faithfulness and goodness. It's important to remember that God's blessings aren't limited to material prosperity. They encompass every aspect of our well-being: peace, joy, wisdom, strength, and the assurance of His constant presence in our lives. At the heart of Deuteronomy 6 lies a profound and beautiful truth. God desires our wholehearted love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. This isn't a casual suggestion, but a passionate plea from a loving God who desires nothing less than the fullness of our affection. To love God with all our heart is to center our affections on Him, to make Him the object of our deepest desires and longings. To love Him with all our soul is to surrender our very being to Him, acknowledging His lordship over every aspect of our lives. And to love Him with all our strength is to live each day with a passionate commitment to honor Him in all we do, our actions reflecting the depth of our devotion. This kind of wholehearted love isn't a passive emotion, but an active and vibrant force that shapes our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Passing the torch of faith. Deuteronomy 6 doesn't stop at personal commitment. It emphasizes the importance of passing on our faith to future generations. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Deuteronomy 6:6-7 NIV. God knew that the continuity of faith depended on the faithful transmission of His truth from one generation to the next. Parents were to be the primary faith influencers in their children's lives, weaving God's truths into the very fabric of their daily routines. Faith wasn't to be confined to religious ceremonies or designated holy days, but was to permeate every aspect of family life. Dinner table conversations, bedtime stories, and everyday moments were all opportunities to instill a love for God and His Word in the hearts of their children. From Egypt's chains to Canaan's shores. To appreciate Deuteronomy 6, understand the historical context. The Israelites were on the cusp of entering the Promised Land. They were leaving behind a life of slavery in Egypt. God had heard their cries and delivered them. He parted the Red Sea, provided manna, and guided them. Their journey through the wilderness was a time of testing. Now they stood on the threshold of the Promised Land. They were about to embark on a new chapter filled with promise. Remembering the promise. Resisting idolatry. God, however, knew the temptations that lay ahead. He knew the seductive allure of idolatry, the tendency of the human heart to wander and forget. The land they were about to inherit was inhabited by nations who worshipped other gods, gods of wood and stone, gods who demanded empty rituals and offered no true fulfillment. God, in His loving foresight, warned His people against the dangers of idolatry. Be careful not to forget the Lord, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you. Deuteronomy 6:12, NIV. He knew that forgetting Him, the source of their deliverance and their provider, would lead them down a dangerous path. A path that would ultimately lead them away from His blessings and into spiritual captivity. The whispers of temptation. Imagine the Israelites settling into their new land, enjoying the fruits of their labor, the abundance of the harvest, the prosperity that came with their obedience to God's commands. It would be easy, in the midst of comfort and plenty, to forget the source of their blessings, to allow complacency to creep into their hearts. The whispers of temptation might come in subtle ways. Those other gods, they seem harmless enough, they might reason. Perhaps we can offer them a small token of appreciation just to ensure our continued good fortune. Or our ancestors worshipped other gods before turning to Yahweh. Surely it won't hurt to honor those ancient traditions. These seemingly insignificant compromises, however, would be the first step towards spiritual adultery, a betrayal of their covenant with the one true God who had delivered them and loved them with an everlasting love. The consequences of straying. Deuteronomy. Chapter 6 doesn't shy away from the consequences of forgetting God and turning to other gods. Moses, speaking on God's behalf, warns the Israelites that disobedience will result in dire consequences. The Lord's anger will burn against you, and He will destroy you from the face of the land. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 15, Nigh 5. These weren't empty threats, but a loving warning from a God who longed to protect His children from the pain and destruction that inevitably follow idolatry. He knew that turning away from Him would lead to spiritual famine, to a barrenness of soul that no amount of material prosperity could ever satisfy. God, in His infinite justice, would not tolerate the worship of false gods, for He alone is worthy of their worship and adoration. A legacy of faithfulness. Deuteronomy chapter 6, however, is not a message of doom and gloom. It's a call to covenant faithfulness, a reminder of the incredible blessings that come with wholehearted devotion to God. It's a blueprint for a life lived in harmony with the Creator, a life marked by purpose, joy, and the assurance of His constant presence. The chapter concludes with a powerful exhortation. The Lord commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear the Lord our God, so that we might always prosper and be kept alive, as is the case today. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24, NIV. Obedience driven by a reverential fear of God becomes the key to a life of blessing and abundance. This isn't a fear rooted in terror, but a profound awe and respect for the God who is both holy and loving, just and merciful. It's a fear that recognizes His power and authority while resting securely in His unfailing love. Our Deuteronomy 6 moment. As we reflect on the timeless truths of Deuteronomy chapter 6, we're reminded that we too stand at a pivotal moment in history. The world around us is filled with distractions, temptations, and competing voices vying for our attention and allegiance. Yet, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, God's call remains the same. He invites us to love Him with all our heart, soul, and strength, to impress his commands upon our children, and to live each day in the awareness of his presence. He promises to bless our faithfulness, to guide our steps, and to provide for our needs. May we, like the Israelites poised to enter the promised land, embrace the challenge of wholehearted commitment. May our lives become a testament to the faithfulness of God and the transformative power of his love. Let us choose this day whom we will serve, and may our answer echo through the ages. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua chapter 24, verse 15, NIV.